This place is called Chiusaforte, and as you can see I've parked my vehicle here and I'm going to stay here the night. Possibly where I'm parked now, unless I find somewhere better. Although there doesn't seem to be much traffic here, so I don't think we're going to pull them that much. That's a military area, so you're not allowed to go in there. And there we have a interesting photograph. The good news is I found the water. I might even bring my vehicle here and flush it out completely with that water. That would be a good idea. I think that's wonderful. Fantastic, yeah. That's the town hall. So that's the motorway bridge down there. And this is the river Fella, or in German Fellafluss. And there's not a lot of water in it, as you can see, compared to what there possibly could be at times. Maybe that's wet down there because of the rather torrential rain we had an hour and a half ago or so. Oh, look at that, there's like a bicycle track up there. Well, that certainly took a bicycle to me. Well, anybody who can get a bicycle up there has got my utmost admiration. As I walk across this bridge, it's either a bit lopsided or there's something wrong with my sense of balance. It's one of the two. So this place is called Racolana and it's part of Chiusaforte. I haven't found the Chiusaforte itself, but that's the name of a fortification. 381 meters above sea level. Now I might have this wrong, but I have a feeling that in Sicily the snow chains were required until the 15th of April. Or maybe it was Calabria. Can't remember. Siren seems somewhat out of place in this setting. The church, the top, says to the fallen in war, to the fallen. This was a frontier area, and this place was captured by the Austrians after the Battle of Caporetto, which was to the east of here. And with the Austrians advancing on the Piave River, aided by the Germans, then the Italians had to give up their fortifications in this area. After the war, the border went to where it is today, which is 50 kilometers or so. But we know slightly less than that, about 30 kilometers now. Italy entered the First World War in March 1915, despite being allied to Austria and Germany. Why did it do this? Well, the Italians thought that the Austrian provocation after the assassination of the Archduke Franz Ferdinand was not reason for war. They said it was a defensive alliance. If attacked, not only that, Italy didn't have any good reason to attack France. Well, maybe it would have liked to get Nice back or something like that, Savoy, but the main area of which Italy wanted at the time was actually held by Austria, the area to the north of here, the so-called Austrian littoral from Trieste, the islands off the coast of what is today Croatia, Fiume, now Rijeka, these places. That's what Italy wanted, and so it came to the secret agreement called the Treaty of London with the UK and France, entered the war, and I don't think the war was very popular. I think there were one or two people who wanted the war, most notably the king. It's the same king who later put up with Mussolini and went through the Second World War with him, and one or two people in Parliament. Italy was a democracy, but the king had far more power than did, for example, the British royal family. Somewhere between, the Kaiser had more power in Germany, but he had the power to appoint prime minister. That's how Mussolini came to power, because it was only due to the king. Without the king, it wouldn't have happened. I think that the majority of Italian troops didn't want to be here. When you read, for example, what Carlo Levi wrote in Christ Stopped at Eboli, which I know I keep referring to this book, but he speaks of these peasants in Basilicata who had fought in the First World War, and they didn't care less. They didn't even talk about it. Whereas those people who have been involved, the brigands and all that, they did talk about it. It's clear that they just couldn't care less. It was a bad experience, better off forgetting, and it made nothing to them. 1,000 kilometres to the north, a few mountains, and so what? Were people who they couldn't communicate with because they spoke a different form of Italian. So that's the first thing I would say. The second thing I'd say is that the Italian army had draconian discipline, far more so than any other army I can think of. Well, maybe the Russian, but no, I think even worse than the Russian. So there was no esprit de corps. Officers very privileged, men not. And in terrible fighting conditions in these mountains, where a shell burst was far more effective than it was like landing in the soft mud in Flanders, hitting the rocks and things like that, and then you get the splinters from the rocks. Pretty horrible, really. Attacking uphill, pointless attacks across the Isonzo River. It must have been pretty awful for those people who didn't want to have anything to do with it whatsoever. So I suspect that is why we see far more monuments to the war up here where it actually took place than we do, for example, in the south, where people really didn't want to have anything to do with it. That's Via Stazione, so I wouldn't be surprised if the station's up there. Oh, there's another fountain. Well, the station I mentioned earlier is there, and instead of a railway line, there's a bike track. Well, it seems to be a little bit of difficulty getting past that orange thing there, But look at that, it's been properly done as well, isn't it? Very nice. Very nicely done. And go over the other side. There's the cemetery. Isn't that nice? Oh. Maybe I ought to stay here tomorrow. Point this out as well. Now, last week I filmed the sunset at 2012, and now look, it's 2050. Sun's nowhere to be seen, but just with getting on for 1,000 kilometers further north, then it gets dark later. Today's the 6th of June. Memorial Park, and I don't know if that means I can't go in or not, but it's not difficult to take it off. Look at the size of this. For a place like this, so small. I think number 28 was in better days. There was an earthquake here. I don't quite know when it was, but it wasn't all that long ago in historical terms. It was... I can't remember when it was. I'll write it down if I remember. Let's go at night. I mentioned these barracks as I went past, but on reflection I can understand why they're empty. There's even something written on the side. I've obviously realised that Austria is not going to invade Italy, so there's no need to have soldiers based here any longer. It's a pity they couldn't have been sold though. Made into flats for other people or something like that. I mean, that building's probably now ripe for demolition and nothing else. Well, I've come back home. This seems as good a place as any to leave the car tonight. Fortunately, the water over there is not working. I'll have to walk in to get some tomorrow. Anyway, getting into a cold shower tonight is going to be quite a challenge because I'm a bit cold as it is. What a great location.